Look up at the night sky. Beyond the twinkling stars and the familiar glow of the moon lies a darkness so profound it defies human comprehension. For decades, we have pointed our most powerful telescopes at those black gaps between the stars, expecting to find something. We expected a cosmos teeming with life, a galactic neighborhood bustling with transmissions, megastructures, and the footprints of civilizations that had millions of years of a head start on us. But instead, we found nothing. No signals, no ruins, no cosmic neighbors. Just a vast, echoing silence. Scientists call this the Fermi paradox. If the universe is billions of years old and contains trillions of planets, where is everybody? But there is a much more unsettling possibility that we are just beginning to grapple with. What if the universe isn't just empty by accident? What if the universe is empty for a reason? And what if that reason suggests that the silence isn't a lack of life, but a warning? Today, we are diving into the most chilling theories that explain the Great Silence, and why the fact that we haven't found anyone else might be the luckiest thing that has ever happened to humanity. To understand why the emptiness is so strange, we first have to understand the scale of what we are looking at. Our own galaxy, the Milky Way, contains between 100 billion and 400 billion stars. Almost every single one of those stars is orbited by at least one planet. If you do the math, that is billions of potentially habitable worlds in just our little corner of the cosmos. Now multiply that by the 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. The numbers are so large they lose meaning. Statistically, the universe should be overflowing with life, even if life is incredibly rare. Even if it only develops on 1 in a billion planets, there should still be thousands of advanced civilizations out there. Some of them would be millions of years older than us. In a million years, a civilization could easily develop the technology to colonize an entire galaxy, even moving at a fraction of the speed of light. They should be visible. They should have left marks on the stars themselves. Yet when we look out, we see a pristine, untouched wilderness. It is like walking into a massive, ancient city and finding every street empty, every building vacant, and every light turned off. This brings us to the first major explanation, a concept known as the Great Filter. The idea is that there is some kind of metaphorical wall that prevents life from progressing beyond a certain point. This filter could be something in our past. Perhaps the jump from single-celled organisms to complex life is so incredibly difficult that it almost never happens. If that is the case, we have already passed the filter. We are the lucky ones who made it through the needle's eye, and we are alone because no one else reached this stage. But there is a darker side to the Great Filter. What if the wall is ahead of us? What if every civilization, once it reaches a certain level of technological advancement, inevitably triggers its own disappearance? Think about how much power we have gained in just the last century. We have unlocked the power of the atom. We are tinkering with the building blocks of life itself, and we are creating artificial intelligences that could one day surpass us. Every new technology is a potential filter. If the Great Filter is ahead of us, it means the reason the universe is empty is that everyone who gets to where we are now fails to survive the next step. Every time we find a new exoplanet that looks like Earth, it isn't a sign of hope. It is a sign of dread, because the more common habitable planets are, the more likely it is that there is a wall waiting for us, that no one has ever climbed. This leads us to an even more unsettling concept often discussed in scientific circles, the dark forest theory. This theory suggests that the universe isn't empty, it's just quiet. Imagine a forest at night. It is pitch black, and you can't see a thing. You might think the forest is empty, but it isn't. It is full of life. But all the animals are hiding. They are staying silent because they know that out there in the dark, there are predators. If you make a sound, if you light a fire, you draw attention to yourself. And in a forest where everyone is trying to survive, drawing attention to yourself is a mistake you only make once. If the dark forest theory is true, the universe is a place of absolute caution. Every civilization out there has realized that any other civilization could be a threat. Resources are limited, and growth is exponential. If you encounter another species, you have no way of knowing their intentions. You don't know if they are peaceful or if they view you as a future rival. Because of the vast distances between stars, communication takes years or centuries. You can't just talk things out. So, the safest course of action for any advanced civilization is to stay hidden, and if they spot someone else who hasn't learned to be quiet yet, they might decide to remove the potential threat before it grows too powerful. Under this theory, We are the loud children in the middle of a dangerous woods, screaming at the top of our lungs and waving flashlights. We have been broadcasting our existence into space for 100 years through radio and television signals. We sent out the Voyager probes with maps showing exactly where our home planet is located. To any older, wiser civilization watching from the shadows, we must look incredibly reckless. The reason we don't hear anyone else isn't because they don't exist, but because everyone else knows better than to talk. They are all huddled in the dark, watching us, and waiting to see what happens when the predators finally hear our calls. But what if the reason for the silence is even more fundamental? What if the universe is empty because we are the first? Someone has to be. The universe is about 13.8 billion years old. That sounds like a long time, but in the life cycle of the cosmos, it's just the beginning. The last stars won't burn out for trillions of years. It's possible that the early universe was too unstable for life. Frequent cosmic explosions and intense radiation might have made it impossible for complex organisms to evolve for billions of years. We might have appeared at the very first moment the conditions became stable enough. In this scenario, we aren't the latecomers to a galactic party. We are the ones arriving early to set up the chairs. This is a heavy responsibility. If we are truly the first, then the future of life in the universe rests entirely on our shoulders. We aren't looking for ancient ruins because there are none to find. We are the ones who will leave the ruins for others to find in a billion years. But being the first also means we have no one to learn from. We are navigating the dangers of technological advancement with no roadmap and no warnings from those who came before. Now let's consider a different perspective. One that challenges our very definition of what an advanced civilization looks like. We often imagine aliens as being somewhat like us, just with better spaceships. We look for radio waves because that's what we use. We look for physical structures because that's what we build. But a civilization that is 1,000,000 years older than us might have moved far beyond the physical realm. Why would they spend thousands of years traveling between cold, rocky planets when they could upload their consciousness into a perfect virtual reality? Think about the trend of our own technology. We are moving toward miniaturization and digitalization. A truly advanced civilization might have shrunk their entire existence down to the size of a grain of sand, powered by the energy of a single star, living in a simulated paradise where they can manipulate time and space at will. To them, the physical universe might be nothing more than a basement or a storage closet. They might be all around us, existing in dimensions we can't perceive, or using communication methods that look like background noise to our primitive instruments. The universe seems empty because we are looking for campfires while they are communicating via a cosmic internet we haven't even conceived of yet. This brings us to one of the most controversial ideas, the zoo hypothesis. This theory suggests that higher civilizations are well aware of us, but they have agreed to leave us alone. They treat Earth like a nature preserve or a laboratory. They are watching our development, perhaps even guiding it in subtle ways. But they have a strict policy of non-interference. They want us to evolve naturally. Or perhaps they are waiting for us to reach a certain level of maturity before they invite us into the galactic community. If this is true, the silence is intentional. It is a collective agreement among the elders of the galaxy to let the newcomers find their own way. It's a comforting thought in some ways, but it also implies a terrifying power dynamic. We are essentially at the mercy of entities so advanced they can remain completely invisible while observing our every move. It makes humanity feel like a tiny insect in a jar, unaware of the giant faces looking through the glass. But let's look at the darker side of that advanced technology. What if the reason the universe is empty is because of something called berserker probes? Imagine a civilization billions of years ago created a fleet of self-replicating machines. Their mission was simple: find any signs of emerging intelligent life and neutralize it before it can become a threat. These machines would spread across the galaxy, hopping from system to system, dormant for millions of years until they detect the specific radio frequency of a developing society. Once triggered, they wake up, complete their task, and then create more of themselves to continue the cycle. This would create a dead zone effect in the universe. Life might sprout up constantly, but as soon as it gets loud enough, it is pruned back. This would explain why we see plenty of habitable planets but zero civilizations. The garden is being constantly weeded by an automated system left behind by a creator that might not even exist anymore. We haven't been visited by the berserkers yet, perhaps because our signals haven't traveled far enough, or perhaps because we haven't hit the specific thresholds that triggers their awakening. But every year we broadcast more. Every year we send more probes into deep space. We are essentially ringing a bell that might eventually bring the harvesters to our doorstep. There is also the possibility that we are fundamentally misunderstanding the nature of life itself. We assume life needs water, carbon, and a temperate climate because that's what we need. But what if life can exist in the hearts of stars, or in the frozen clouds of gas giants, or as vast networks of plasma in the interstellar void? If life is radically different from us, we might be looking right at it and not recognizing it. We are looking for people and cities. But the universe might be filled with sentient nebulae or living crystals that think so slowly that a single one of their thoughts takes 10,000 years. To them, we are just a flash of heat and noise, too fast and too tiny to be considered intelligent. The silence of the universe forces us to look inward. If there is no one else out there, then everything we do matters infinitely more. Our wars, our art, our discoveries, our survival. It all happens on one tiny blue speck in an endless void. If we vanish, the universe becomes a place where the light of consciousness has gone out. The pressure of being the only observers of the cosmos is immense. We are the eyes of the universe, the only way it can see itself. However, many astronomers suggest we simply haven't been looking long enough. We have only had the technology to listen for signals for about 60 or 70 years. In the context of the age of the galaxy, that is less than a heartbeat. If someone sent a signal that arrived 100 years ago, we missed it. If they send one 100 years from now, we aren't there yet. The chances of two civilizations overlapping in the exact same window of time and space and using the exact same technology might be incredibly slim. The universe could be teeming with life that lived and moved on before we even crawled out of the oceans, or life that won't even begin until long after our sun has expanded and swallowed the Earth. There is also the indifference theory. This one hurts our ego the most. It suggests that there are plenty of civilizations out there, but they simply don't care about us. We aren't a threat, we aren't a resource, and we aren't interesting. We are like an anthill on the side of a highway. The people driving by aren't trying to hide from the ants, and they aren't trying to study them. They are just busy with their own lives, traveling to places the ants can't imagine, for reasons the ants can't understand. To a civilization that can harness the energy of an entire galaxy, a planet like Earth might be as boring as a single grain of sand on a beach. They don't talk to us because they have nothing to say to us. But let's go back to that feeling of dread. Why is the emptiness terrifying? It is because humans are social creatures. We define ourselves through our relationships with others. The idea that we are completely, utterly alone in a house with 1 trillion rooms is a nightmare of isolation. It suggests that all our struggles are local, that there is no higher purpose or grander community waiting for us. It means that if we mess this up, if we ruin our planet or destroy ourselves, there is no backup. There is no one to step in and save us. There is no one to even witness our end. The rare Earth hypothesis takes this even further. It argues that the conditions required for complex multicellular life are so specific that they might have only happened once. It's not just about being in the Goldilocks zone of a star. You need a large moon to stabilize the planet's tilt. You need a gas giant like Jupiter to act as a shield, soaking up asteroid impacts. You need a specific type of galactic neighborhood, far away from the dangerous radiation of the center but close enough to have heavy elements from past star explosions. You need plate tectonics, a magnetic field, and a stable atmosphere. The chain of coincidences that led to you sitting here listening to this might be so long and so fragile that it is a statistical miracle. If that is the case, the universe is empty because life is an accident, a glitch in the system. We are a chemical fluke that occurred on a wet rock, and we are searching for meaning in a machine that was never designed to produce it. This makes the emptiness not a mystery to be solved, but a fundamental characteristic of existence. The silence isn't a warning, it's just the way things are. But if the dark forest or the great filter is true, then the silence is a mercy. It is a shield that has protected us while we are in our infancy. Every day that we don't hear a signal from the stars is another day we are allowed to grow, to learn, and to prepare. We are like a bird that hasn't left the nest yet. Outside the nest, the world is vast and beautiful, but it is also full of hawks. If we were to hear a signal tomorrow, it would be the most important event in human history, but it would also be the most dangerous. Knowing someone else is there changes everything. It turns the universe from a playground into a battlefield, or at the very least, a high-stakes game of hide and seek. Then there is the possibility that the emptiness is an illusion created by the limitations of our physics. We are limited by the speed of light. We think it is an unbreakable universal speed limit. But what if it isn't? What if there are ways to fold space, or travel through wormholes, or communicate using quantum entanglement? If the rest of the galaxy is using a galactic highway that exists outside of our three-dimensional space, we would never see them. They could be passing by us in their millions every second, but because we are looking through the wrong window, the street looks empty. We are like people trying to catch a television broadcast with a magnifying glass. We have the wrong tools for the job. The universe is empty for a reason. Whether that reason is that we are the first, that we are the only ones, that everyone is hiding, or that we are simply too primitive to see what's right in front of us, the conclusion is the same. Our time on this planet is precious. Our existence is a fragile flame in a very dark and very cold room. We can't rely on a galactic federation to come and fix our problems. We can't wait for a signal to tell us how to live. As we continue to build better telescopes like the James Webb, we are peering deeper into the past and further across the void than ever before. We are searching for techno-signatures, signs of industrial pollution in the atmospheres of distant planets, or the flicker of giant structures passing in front of stars. We are getting better at looking. And with every empty planet we find, the tension grows. The silence gets louder. If we finally find something, it will be the end of our loneliness. But it will also be the end of our innocence. We will know, for better or worse, that we are part of something much larger and potentially much more dangerous. But until then, we have to face the long dark alone. We have to be the ones who provide the reason for the universe not to be empty. We have to be the ones who fill the silence with music, with science, and with the stories of a species that looked into the terrifying void and chose to keep looking. The emptiness of the universe is a mirror. When we look into it, we don't see aliens or monsters. We see ourselves. We see our fears of being alone, our hopes for a better future, and our realization of just how much we have to lose. The reason the universe is empty might be terrifying, but it also gives us a level of freedom that is unprecedented. In an empty universe, we are the ones who define what life is. We are the ones who decide what the future looks like. We are the ones who give the stars a name. So, the next time you look up at that black space between the stars, don't just feel small, feel important. Because in all that vast, cold, and silent emptiness, you are here. We are here. And for now, that is the only thing that matters. The silence is a blank page, and we are the only ones holding the pen. What we write next will determine if the universe stays empty, or if we become the reason the next civilization doesn't have to feel so alone when they look at the stars. As we move forward, we must be careful. We must balance our curiosity with caution. Scientists are now debating whether we should be actively reaching out, or if we should just keep listening. This is known as METI, or Messaging Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Some of the brightest minds on our planet have warned against it. They argue that we have no idea who is out there, and that announcing our presence is an irreversible act. Once the signal is sent, you can't take it back. It travels at the speed of light, carrying our coordinates to whoever might be listening. If the dark forest theory is even remotely possible, then METI might be the biggest mistake in our history. It is like a chick chirping loudly before it knows if the thing approaching the nest is its mother or a snake. Yet the urge to connect is deep in our DNA. We are a species of explorers. We crossed oceans in wooden boats not knowing if we would find land or a waterfall at the edge of the world. We launched ourselves into the sky and onto the moon. For many, the risk of the silence is worse than the risk of the noise. They believe that a civilization advanced enough to travel between stars must have moved beyond the need for aggression. They hope that our galactic neighbors will be teachers, not predators. But hope is not a strategy. The reason the universe is empty might be that the nice civilizations are the ones that got erased, and only the cautious or the aggressive ones remain. It's a cynical view, but when the stakes are the survival of everything we know, cynicism might be a survival trait. Think about the timescales involved again. Our civilization, in its modern form, has existed for maybe 10,000 years. Our industrial civilization has existed for 300. In cosmic terms, that is nothing. If a civilization lasted for 100 million years and then vanished, the trace they left behind might be completely erased by the time we showed up. The universe might be a graveyard of empires, With the dust of billion-year-old cities floating past us in every nebula, we might be walking over the galactic equivalent of ancient ruins every time we pass a star system. But the ruins are so old they have turned back into stardust. This is the temporal Fermi paradox. It's not that life is rare in space, it's that it is rare in time. For two civilizations to exist at the same time and near enough to talk is like two fireflies blinking at each other from opposite sides of a forest. But each firefly only lives for a single second, and they are born 100 years apart. The odds of their lights overlapping are almost zero. If this is true, the universe is empty not because life is failing, but because life is a series of brief, beautiful sparks in an infinite night. Each spark thinks it is alone, because by the time the light from the previous spark reaches it, that spark has already gone out. This is a lonely thought, but it is also a poetic one. It means that the universe is constantly producing life, but it is a solitary experience for everyone. So where does that leave us? It leaves us on a small, vibrant world, surrounded by a silence that is either a protective blanket, a warning sign, or a graveyard. The terrifying reason the universe is empty might simply be that the bridge between stars is too wide to cross, and the life of a civilization is too short to make the journey. But we are still trying. We are building faster computers to sift through the noise of the cosmos. We are planning missions to the icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn, like Europa and Enceladus, where hidden oceans might harbor life that has never seen the sun. If we find even a single microbe on another world in our own solar system, it will tell us that life is common. And if life is common, but the galaxy is silent, then the great filter must be ahead of us. It would be the most significant discovery in history, and also the most frightening. It would mean that the wall is real, and it is coming for us. Until that day, we continue to look, to listen, and to wonder. The emptiness is a challenge. It is a mystery that demands to be solved. And perhaps the reason the universe is empty is simply to give us room to grow. Maybe the owners of the galaxy left it empty on purpose, like a park waiting for a child to come and play. Or maybe we really are the champions of a cosmic lottery, the only winners in a game played by trillions of planets over billions of years. Regardless of the reason, the silence of the stars is a reminder of how lucky we are to have each other. In a universe that seems indifferent or even hostile to life, the fact that we have built cities, written symphonies, and explored the depths of the atom is a miracle. We are the voice of the silence. We are the light in the dark. And as long as we keep searching and keep learning, the universe will never be truly empty, because we are in it, and we are looking back at it, asking, is anyone there? The answer might be no. The answer might be not yet. Or the answer might be quiet. They'll hear you. Each answer is terrifying in its own way, but perhaps the most terrifying thing of all would be to stop asking the question, to look at the empty sky and stop wondering why. Because the moment we stop being curious is the moment we truly become alone. Keep your eyes on the stars, not because you're looking for friends, and not because you're looking for enemies. Look at the stars because they are the potential of what we could become. The emptiness isn't a void to be feared, it's a space to be filled. And if we play our cards right, if we navigate the filters and survive the dark forest, maybe one day we will be the ones sending out the signal that lights up the night for someone else, far away and far in the future, who is sitting on their own world, looking up and wondering if they are alone. And when they hear our voice, they won't feel terrified. They will feel hope. They will know that the universe isn't empty, and it never was. It was just waiting for them to join the conversation. But until then, the silence remains. It is heavy, it is vast, and it is waiting. We are the only thing standing between the universe and a state of total, absolute nothingness. That is our burden, and that is our glory. The universe is empty for a reason, and that reason is us. We are the reason it isn't empty anymore. We are the life, the consciousness, and the spirit of this tiny corner of reality. Let's make sure we stay that way. Let's make sure the light stays on, because the dark is very, very big and it has been waiting for a long time. As we conclude this journey into the great unknown, remember that the silence of the universe isn't a failure of science. It is the ultimate scientific question. Every empty star system we map, every silent frequency we scan, narrows down the possibilities and brings us closer to the truth. Whether that truth is that we are unique or that we are merely hiding, it is the most important truth we will ever uncover. Don't let the scale of the cosmos make you feel insignificant. You are part of the only species we know of that can even ask these questions. You are a way for the cosmos to know itself. The silence doesn't diminish us, it defines us. It sets the stage for our story. And what a story it is. A story of a small group of thinkers on a blue planet, refusing to be intimidated by the infinite dark, and instead reaching out to touch the stars. The emptiness is there. The reason is there. And sooner or later, we will find it. Stay curious, stay cautious, and most importantly, keep looking up. The universe might be silent for now, but the story of humanity is just getting started, and we have a lot of noise yet to make. Thank you for listening, and for being part of the journey through the great, echoing silence of the cosmos. Until next time, remember that the most terrifying thing about the universe isn't that we are alone. It's the thought of what we might do if we find out we aren't. But even then, we will face it together, on this one small world, under the wide, empty sky.